So today I want to talk to you about another medicinal plant that is also common and very abundant and sometimes seen as quite a nuisance in people's gardens, and that is burdock. So in the last two videos that I made, I talked about mullein and I talked about yellow dock, both of which are plants that are sometimes confused with burdock, and they all kind of look a little bit alike. So burdock is this plant, and so you can see it has similar leaf structure to both mullein and yellow dock, and that it has these big basal leaves. Yellow dock has a little bit darker green and almost shiny or waxy looking leaves, whereas burdock leaves are a little fuzzier and sort of a downy whitish green. And they're actually in totally different plant families. The burdock the botanical name is Arctium lapa, and it's in the aster family, which is probably the most common plant family in the world. And yellow dock is in the Polygonaceae, so aster is Asteraceae. And one of the distinguishing features of many plants in the aster family is that the flowers are actually sort of an illusion. And it's what looks like one single flower is actually an inflorescence. So it's multiple tiny flowers all collectively held on this common structure called a receptacle. And so burdocks have that kind of flower. So they're not flowering right now, but these are last year's flowers, now seed heads. And these are that's very notorious, the burrs of burdock, why it's called burdock. And so each of those little hooked seeds comes from one of the many tiny flowers that form this purplish pink flower that looks quite like a thistle, if you know what a thistle flower looks like. And as I said, they have little hooks on them, and that's just a mechanism that the plant developed to spread really easily. So it hooks on to animal fur or human clothing or shoelaces. I'm sure you've had the experience. And then we carry it off and distribute the seeds wherever we go when we deburr ourselves. So that's a pretty interesting way that the plant has developed a way to spread. And you can see here also amongst these big burdocks are all these tiny little baby burdock seedlings, just to showcase how quickly and readily it spreads. And so here, this is like a whole fence line with all of these burdocks. And they can get to be very large. The plant itself, when it's flowering, is pretty tall and enormous. And like yellow docks, the root is a taproot, which means that it's long and straight and it goes really far and deep. And when the plant is very mature, the root is pretty hard to dig. It's very, very large and very deep. So some things about burdock is, one, that it's really edible. It has a nice sweet moistening flavor to it and a nice sweet scent. Some people do classify it as a bitter, but it really only gets bitter as the plant flowers further along in the season. I find it to be, more just sweet and just earthy tasting. It makes a great tea. So it's really highly nutritive, burdock root. So as this food or as a tea, or also extracted in vinegar, those are really the best ways to get those nutrients out of the burdock. And burdock is considered to be a prebiotic, so it contains inulin and starches and sugars that make it basically great food for the good bacteria that already exists in our system. So rather than taking a probiotic, which inoculates us with the good bacteria, taking prebiotics, eating things that are prebiotic, basically just helps feed those bacteria and nurture the ones that already do exist in our systems. So that's one way that burdock is medicine, as food. And this is a little burdock that I dug just to showcase it. So these are the leaves, and they have this nice kind of creamy white underside to the darker green top that's very fuzzy or downy. And then under this dirt, it's sort of just like a creamy yellow color. And it has a really nice smell to it, I think. So medicinally, burdock is well known for being what's called an alterative. So that basically means that it's a blood cleanser or blood purifier. And so how it really does that is that it encourages all the different organs and processes of elimination in the body. So it does this by encouraging flow of the lymph, which helps eliminate toxins from the blood and infection. So in that way, it sort of helps boost immunity by helping encourage and clear the lymph system. And then also by gently tonifying and stimulating the liver, which is basically the major organ of elimination and detoxification in the body, and that it helps process out dead blood cells and unnecessary excess of hormones, and it helps store blood. So it is a gentle liver herb, it's lymphatic, and altogether it has this process of clearing and cleaning out the body, which is so great and so necessary, especially in springtime, to encourage all of those different elimination capacities. And it's quite anti-inflammatory internally too, and so all those different functions kind of combined make it an excellent herb for the skin. So it's often in skin formulas because different sort of aggravated expressions of our skin are really reflections of toxic buildup in the body. So working on the lymph and the liver help clear the skin, clear hormones and toxins that are reflecting in the skin. So with psoriasis or eczema or acne, those kinds of things. So taking burdock internally for that is great. It's externally demulcent, moistening, and anti-inflammatory too, the leaves especially, so you can make a poultice for various aggravated skin conditions as well. But it's definitely a great and powerful internal remedy for the skin. And then I also really like to put it in arthritis formulas, because all of those kinds of similar aspects that it does with the blood and the lymph and the liver and the skin, this anti-inflammatory, soothing, cooling, stimulating quality to it, makes it also great really for aggravated joints where the bursa has been irritated, and so it helps kind of cool and send fluid and moisten and calm those kinds of aggravations as well. So it's nice to put it in a formula like that. So yeah, so that's a little bit about burdock.